Seth, you do know we watched an Asian movie and we're eating Chinese food.
Hey, I'm cheap. Deal with it.
Okay. Chinese food ain't that cheap. We need to learn to make it ourselves.
I'm not rich, okay?
They did it in the movie. They made dumplings. We need to find an Asian grandmother and make dumplings.
Who cares? Who cares? Okay, I'm not rich. I'm not like these crazy rich Asians, okay, guys? I'm not.
I'm related to one of them. I know I don't look Asian, but it's in my blood. They just don't know I'm related yet. I just have to let them know that I'm like a distant cousin. And can you throw a few million my way? You know?
Yeah, bullshit. You might have to start slanting your fucking eyes. Welcome, everybody. We are two white guys talking about an Asian movie, eating Chinese food.
And a little note of trivia.
Can it get any worse?
Seth told me about this movie. This was the first all-Asian cast Chinese, Asian movie made in 25 years. I'm not sure, but I think the last one that was all-Asian was the Joy Luck Club.
Yeah, this is the first Western-produced one that has an exclusively all-Asian cast. That has been happening in like the last 25 years, and it amazes me to that extent. It really is very interesting, and I will say this much: the trailers didn't really do much for me.
No, the trailers for me. I mean, the premise of the movie was rich Asians. You have a girl who is really not accepted by the mother. You kind of see that in the movie. Yeah. There's a famous line that's also used in the trailer, that's also used in the movie. You will never be good enough. And it kind of shows you, I don't think it's so much the clash of cultures, because the girl herself, she's Chinese, she's Asian herself, her father came from China, her mother was an Asian immigrant. I think what it is it's the clash of money. It's the telltale story. The son's rich, they want him to run a company, and she's poor. Not really poor, I mean, she has a really good job, but they want their family to be somebody who they think is sophisticated and can basically rub elbows with other rich people. So that was like the premise of the movie. I don't think, and I'll let you continue.
Well, no, I mean, the idea that Rachel and Nick have been dating for a year, and that Nick doesn't like really talking about his family.
Well, she knew nothing about his family.
Well, she really knew nothing, but every time he sort of changes the subject, and basically she thought, well, maybe they're really poor, or maybe they're passed on, and he just doesn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
And that can be farther from the truth.
And not just that, the only person she did know about Nick's family was his sister. And what he thought about the sister, she does charity work, and she has a really big heart. Needless to say, you see the movie, she owns those charities, runs those multi-million-dollar charities, and she's rich herself too. And she didn't know that. She just think, the sister's a nice girl, and she has a big heart who does charity. So she was really duped, and she got very pissed that you didn't tell me any of this. Like, I didn't know any of this about your family. You're kind of like pitting the, like, But
I think the reason why it is because in my mind, what I think is that, and he even says it in the movie, the idea of, look, you accepted me not for me being this rich bachelor guy, but as some regular dude, and I appreciated that, and I liked that a lot, and I will say this much. What I didn't know is that this movie is actually based on an actual book, Crazy Rich Asians, and it's actually a trilogy of books. So if this movie is actually successful, we might get a sequel.
And I think it will be successful.
I think it will too. And I will say this much. I think that the acting here is phenomenal. I think it's really well done. I was really pleasantly surprised by everybody.
Yeah, I said that the mother in this movie, she's a well-known Asian actress. She's an American actress, but she is Asian. She's been in quite a few movies. She's excellent. But what I like at the beginning of the movie, and there's two things I like in the beginning. One thing happened right at the beginning. I'll get to that in a second. But the second thing that happened right in the beginning, when she finds out, his family's rich, this is all we're comfortable, she goes, how is that possible? Use my Netflix password and you share desserts with me. You don't even pay for your own dessert. And as I was saying, alluding to it, he wanted to act kind of poor, like, because all the women that were interested in him, he's so well known, they just wanted him for his money. They wanted to marry into wealth. She liked him. She didn't care how much money he had. She liked him just because for who he is. I think that's how a lot of rich people are. They pretend there's something they're not because they don't want people attracted to them that are just looking for the money. But the other thing is, you could tell how they're rich they are. This is the second thing that happened right at the beginning. They go to a hotel in London on Nick's mother. I don't know her first name, but the last name's Young. And this hotel doesn't, I guess they don't know how rich the Youngs are. And this was 1975.
No, actually, no, 1995.
1995. And they go to the hotel, and nothing thinking about it, and they're racist. Oh, even though she had a room booked, she had the most expensive suite, which tells you she has money. Oh, no, the room, you need to find a hotel somewhere else. She calls up her husband outside in a phone booth. He gives a call to the guy who owns the hotel. That night, we didn't go through whole months of acquisitions and everything. The white guys sold the hotel, probably for $100 million, because it was a beautiful hotel. And she looks, she goes, yeah, you'll be mopping that floor. Basically saying, I own the hotel now. I'm this rich. I don't have to take your garbage. They'll probably all get fired. And you basically see at the beginning how rich his family is, that she makes one phone call to the husband and he buys a multi-million-dollar hotel within the same night.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can tell how rich these people are. And basically Nick says, hey, you know, my really great friend, I'm going to be one of the best men at his wedding. We're going to go to Singapore. And by the way, I have never really been even outside of the United States. So Singapore is like a culture shock to me.
Remember, Singapore in the 1800s, as they said, was all jungle, it was farm.
Yeah.
It was rich Asian people. Basically, if you own property in Singapore, it's the richest part in China, besides maybe Hong Kong or Thailand. But if you own property, you're rich. You know, the houses there are multi-million-dollar homes. They're huge. They're beautiful. They're gorgeous. Her best friend, which is Awkwafina is the actress name, but was called Pingling. Wonderful acting by her. She was even rich, but she was considered poor rich. She wasn't considered super rich.
So I sort of thought about this, right? So there's crazy rich,
super rich.
There's a little crazy, super rich. There's like a moderate rich. Then there's a poor rich.
Not all in a country where you're poor or rich. There's no in between. Country, you're surviving off food stamps and you're in poverty, or you're freaking rich. There's no in between in America. There, it's like we got 3 levels of richness.
So I felt bad for Awkwafina because she was poor rich. I
felt bad. Did you see the house? Did you see how much money she had? Did you see in her trunk she had clothes to change into? This is my clubbing dress. This is my cocktail dress. Who does that? Bring fancy outfits with them.
I know a lot of poor people living on the streets that have their cocktail dresses.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of poor people that can just go in their shopping cart and be like, oh, you know what? I'm getting invited to a party tonight. Let me get my club clothes out.
Why not, right? I mean, it's just very interesting. But I will say this much, though, for the whole Singapore thing. The locations and everything is goddamn beautiful.
Oh,
my
gorgeous.
God, man. I just was like, and areas in Singapore where you literally really didn't, I mean, for me it was like, oh my God, man, like.
Well, even as family members, remember what they did for there's a part in the movie, there was a bachelor party, spoiler. They rented a whole freaking boat and had huge TVs and beautiful women, and it would probably cost millions of dollars to do that just for a bachelor party.
Hey, Nick, if I ever have, get married and you do my best.
Taco Bell. And we're getting a 65-year-old stripper. That's what you're getting. I'm on a budget here. We'll get the retired stripper. We'll get her out of retirement. She'll be about 65 years old. And we'll be having her at Taco Bell. And we'll just make sure she doesn't eat Taco Bell because you don't want that to happen if she's wearing thong underwear. That's what you're getting. I'm sorry. And you'll be begging your future wife, honey, I'm sorry. Nick gave me the worst bachelor party. I'm going to be with you forever. I'm shocked. I'm just scared.
We're going to make our own movie called
Crazy Poor Motherfuckers. Crazy Poor White Men.
Crazy Poor White Men.
But it was just they had private islands in this movie. Even the family. It wasn't just that his family was rich. His cousins were rich. Everybody in the family was rich.
Yes.
It's like, oh, Even the best friend's wedding, he's like, oh, we're going to go to a private island. I'm like, who does that? And you know how expensive the wedding was? Okay, my sister, to give you an idea, she spent $30,000 on her wedding.
Okay.
Which is fair. You usually spend about $20,000-$30,000 on a wedding, and it takes you probably about 5-10 years to pay off the debts from the wedding. Sure. You max out some credit cards, you take out some loans, but you pay it back. They paid for their wedding $40 million. There was a princess in the wedding, a freaking princess. She wasn't the bride, but she was a princess. They have a running river in the middle of the floor, a river. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'll tell you, man, money. No, look, I mean, but the thing that, even though these people are really rich, they were relatable, though.
They were relatable. The mother was relatable because there's a scene in the movie where she goes, I wasn't the first choice for my husband, the second choice. And she had to really prove herself.
Yeah.
And I had to explain something to Seth. There's a point in the movie where you see the grandmother who she did dumplings. And the grandmother used to be a cook, but, you know, I'm sure her husband was rich. I'm sure her son's rich. Yeah. But Seth thought it was Nick Young's, the main guy in the movie.
Grandmother.
It was his grandmother, but it wasn't his mother's mother.
It was the father's
so
mother.
That's why she was so critical in the movie. And you see the change of the dynamic. You see the young girl, Nick Young, Rachel Chu, she had to prove herself. She had to not just prove herself in Mahjong, which was a game of skill. She had to prove herself talking to the princess in the wedding, like how smart she is. But she had to prove herself to the mom, like, I'm good enough for your son. And she said a quote in the movie, which I'm not going to repeat to spoil it, but she really did prove, it was all about proving herself. And really, there's a point in the movie, the best friend says to Nick Young, you got to fight her there. Like, she's a fighter. Like, she's not giving up.
She's somebody who has to realize she's a fighter, because she doesn't realize it at first. But going through this and going through people, and it's not just the mother, it's basically the mother's friends, it's all of the Singapore society that
the rich people
that basically are like, this chick is an outsider. She's an American. She's not one of us. She's a gold digger. They're all thinking these things.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it, but there's a scene in a movie where all these rich girls who want Nick Young basically make her out to be a gold digger, and basically they petrify her in the movie. She actually admitted, she says, she tells the mother, this is the first time I am scared. And I'm ready to admit I'm scared. I'm ready to admit I'm fearful. It's not that I'm not scared and fearful. It's just I'm ready to admit it to myself. Before I didn't admit it.
Well, the idea that Rachel has to break down all these type of barriers in order to get accepted, and I really, again, I felt for the character. I really felt for the Nick character. Even though he's really rich, you do get to really feel like
he's humble.
He's humble, and you get it. A lot of the characters are really well drawn out, very interesting characters. Even the side stories, like the stuff with the sister, is very relatable.
Big part of the side story. There was a lot of side stories, but the big two stories in the movie, they made a lot about Nick Young and Rachel Chu, but a lot of the story was also about his sister and what's going on. That was a large part of the movie, and it showed that she got her strength from Rachel Chu because she used her as a support system, and she was able, what she did at the end of the movie, remember?
Yes.
She got strength from her. So I think it was people drawing on each other's strengths, and she also, Rachel had to figure out who she's going to trust. Remember the guy, there was a lawyer in the movie who says, oh, I used to date Nick Young. And you know, I'm the family's lawyer for the corporation. And she started trusting her, and then she realized she can't trust her. You have to figure out who you can trust and who you can't.
And that's with anything in life. And I really did appreciate, like I said, the characters are relatable. I thought the dialogue was very well done between all the characters. I thought that, like I said, I think that the scenery and everything is beautiful here. And this movie is directed by John M. Chu. Now, John M. Chu has done a lot of different stuff. He did a couple of the Step Up movies. He did that second G.I. Joe film. He's done a couple interesting things. I think, honestly, this is his best film because
I've seen those movies. I would agree with you.
He's an Asian Chinese sort of director, and this is a movie that I feel like probably must have been a passion project of his. And it really felt like very unique and interesting, and he did a really great job here. It's beautiful looking. The acting is great. He gets
well, remember,
everything
you
out
were
of
going
his
to mention that
characters.
in the review about passion. Remember you told me to remind you?
Well, yeah, the idea that basically the mother believes that the passion that Rachel Chu has for her life and her career is not something that should be celebrated. You need to basically sacrifice that stuff in order to be a true provider for the family.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that's true.
No.
And those are old traditions that need to be broken down, and I feel like that's a part of the movie as well. I think that's really interesting too. I also will say this, another really interesting nugget for this film, something that I found out, is that the producers and the filmmakers for this film turned down a massive amount of money from Netflix in order to put it on
the big screen.
To put it on the streaming. They said no to they didn't say how much, but it had a massive amount of money, and they waited for a feature distribution thing, and they got it, and I'm so glad they did.
I'm sure they're going to make more money doing it this way.
I think they will too. And let me say this much. Again, I didn't like those trailers, and you know, me and a bunch of the guys, you as well, we every time we saw the trailer, we always were like,
oh, we're a little bit
Jesus.
pessimistic.
Oh,
I actually
Jesus.
convinced Seth to see this movie. He didn't really want to see, you know.
No,
he didn't really want to see this. I said, Seth, let's
didn't.
give it a chance. I think it's going to be a good movie. He really wasn't into it. I was the one who said,
Yeah.
I wanted to see this. So we did, and I'm glad I did. Because it was very different from the trailers. The trailers paint a negative view of the picture. I don't think it does the picture justice.
No.
I think
it's much better
very well-made movie.
Much better than the trailers make it out to be. And again, I was pleasantly surprised because, again, I wasn't expecting much. But you know what? Sometimes you get these really pleasant surprise, guys, and you're really happy and thankful that you got to see it. And that just goes to show that you really do have to give movies a chance.
Absolutely.
Because you never know what's going to surprise you in the end. What are your final thoughts and grade rating on Crazy Rich Asians, sir?
The thing you were saying, the scenery, showing the richness, the beautifulness of Singapore, I think it's going to bring people to visit the country.
Yeah.
I think the acting is phenomenal. I think the storyline, the dialogue, the clash between rich and poor, the different stories. I think it was a really good movie. I think it showed a little bit of racism there at the beginning. I think it showed richness, the clash of rich and poor. I would have to give this movie, my grade rating, probably an A. I'm not going to give it an A+. I very rarely do that. And the only reason I'm not going to give it an A+ is because I think this movie, and this is very rare to me to say, could have been a little bit longer. I really think it could have been a little bit longer, and they could have left it a little bit different. Like, after the end of the movie, I kind of want to know, well, what's next? You know, and maybe they will have a sequel and explain that, but I felt it could have been a little bit longer, and that's the only reason I'm not giving it an A+. I'm giving it an A.
But that's actually almost a good thing to say because you were so into the movie, you wanted more of it.
Absolutely. That's very rare for me.
Yeah, that's a very good thing. Look, like I said, I think this movie sort of came out of nowhere because, again, it's a movie when, you know, my mother likes these type of movies. But even when my mother watches the trailer and says, "Geez, I'm not seeing that," like she just didn't like the trailers, and neither did I, and it didn't do the film justice. And I'm telling you guys right now that the movie is really interesting and really fascinating.
Definitely go see it.
And it's so worth the price of admission to go see. It really was a surprise for me. And I think everything worked so well. It is definitely one of the better romantic comedies that I've seen in a long time, and I would have never even thought of saying that if I didn't see the movie. It was so well done. My grade rating would be a really high B+. Oh,
wow.
A couple of minor instances where I felt, maybe not so great, but again, most of it was hit out of the park, and it's absolutely, definitely a go see it, guys. And, well, we may not have all the really nice food, but I did buy you Chinese food.
And they eat a lot of food in this movie. This movie will make you hungry. I'm warning you, after seeing this movie, you're going to want to go eat some Chinese.
Kind of like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying your stuff?
Yeah. I had about a quarter of it already.
You better eat all. I fucking bought it for you. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up. And me and the Chinese eating motherfucker here, will be back for another movie review, guys. Yeah, damn right he better be. Take care, guys.